The NBA season is upon us. We are just days away from the start of the regular season, and just like every NBA season, we always like to go into it with our preconceived notions, narratives, and predictions of what we think is going to happen. And while I haven't done this type of video in a while, I think I did it when I first started this channel, I thought it would be fun to go through some bold predictions heading into the 25-26 season, and I would love to hear what some of your guys' bold predictions are as well. Of course, be sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel and you like this type of content, and in return I'll be providing more NBA content like this. Now, I think it's important to note that a bold prediction is obviously bold for a reason. It's a prediction that most would consider to be unlikely, but not out of the realm of possibility. I wouldn't put it on the same level as a hot take per se, where a given take or prediction is outlandish that it's almost laughable, but it's bold enough to the point where it's a gutsy position to take, a position that most are going to be against. So I figured I had to preface it this way because I'm sure when I go through some of these predictions, you're gonna have some people who will be like, you actually think that's gonna happen? Are you out of your mind? Well, no, it's a bold prediction for a reason. I recognize that it's unlikely, but I'm going against the odds and making the prediction anyway. And my first bold prediction is that the Warriors are gonna miss the playoffs this season. And what's crazy is that this one is probably the one I'm most confident about compared to the rest of the ones I'm about to go through. Look, the way I view it is this: we have last year's results to go off of. Not just how the Warriors did, but how the rest of the Western Conference stacked up. The Warriors, before trading for Jimmy Butler, were already trending to be a play-in team. In fact, there was a real world where they could have very well been on pace to miss the play-in. That's how tight the race was in the Western Conference this past season, and how the Warriors were doing before they traded for Jimmy Butler. And so if we go based off of where things landed last season, the Warriors finished in the play-in with the 7th seed, ended up advancing and claiming the 7th seed, where they got matched up with arguably their most favorable matchup in the 2nd seed, Houston Rockets. They were a play-in team last year, and for me to say unequivocally the Warriors will be in the playoffs this year, I need to see that they can be better than a play-in team. And I look at the 6 teams that finished ahead of them last season, the Thunder, Rockets, Lakers, Nuggets, Clippers, Timberwolves. I don't see the Warriors leapfrogging any of those teams this season, in large part because they're old. And I have a hard time seeing that their core 3 guys, and Steph, Jimmy, Draymond, are going to be healthy and available for most of the season. Now, I'm sure the question you're asking is, well, if you don't think the Warriors are going to make the playoffs, who missed it last year that is going to pass them up for that spot? Well, of course, I'm very high on the San Antonio Spurs. Victor Wembanyama and his health obviously is going to be a determining factor of how their season is going to go. But assuming he stays healthy and plays in at least 70 games this season, I fully expect them to be in the playoffs. And then the Dallas Mavericks. Adding Cooper Flagg, who has already looked incredible in the preseason. Kyrie Irving will eventually be coming back at some point this year. Anthony Davis, who knows if he'll be able to stay healthy, but if he is, I'm not going to say the Mavs are contenders like some of the talking heads on the major media outlets have claimed, but they will be better. And if the Spurs and Mavs are entering the playoff picture, it means 2 teams from last year are coming out. And for me, those 2 teams are the Warriors and the Grizzlies. I think the Warriors will still be a play-in team, but I don't see them making it out of the play-in like they did last year. I know a lot of people are high on this team, and yes, never count out Steph Curry, but the man is going to be turning 38 this season. Al Horford is going to be turning 40. They're too old, not enough depth on their team. I think everything that went down with Kuminga as well this summer is going to be a locker room problem. I don't see the Dubs making the playoffs. My next bold prediction: the Miami Heat are finally going to blow things up. The Heat have always been this team that has never been about bottoming out. They've never been one to opt to go on a fire sale and rebuild, but it won't surprise me if that ends up happening this year. The Heat finished 10th last year in the East. They managed to make it to the playoffs, becoming the first 10 seed to do so by way of the play-in, but then got beat down, weren't even competitive against the Cavs in the first round, getting swept by an average margin of victory of like 25 points. They traded for Norman Powell, which I like that trade for them, but Tyler Hero is once again hurt, won't be ready to go to start the season. Bam Adebayo is already in trade rumors, as is Andrew Wiggins to an extent. The Heat are probably going to get off to another average to below average start. They're going to look around and realize this thing isn't going anywhere. We need to capitalize on some of the guys while they still have value. You trade Bam, which you can probably get a lot for him, even though he had a somewhat of a down year last season. Trade Hero while he's still in his prime. You flip Powell and hope you can get something decent for him in return. Move Wiggins. There will be contenders who are interested in him for a guy who has championship level experience and is okay just being a role player. Buy out Terry Rozier, all that good stuff. restart, rebuild, see what you have with Khalil Ware, see what you have with Kasparas. You just extended Nikola Jovic. Jaquez could be a nice role player for them. You'll get some nice young players and draft capital by moving all the aforementioned players. Rebuild, get yourself out of the middle. It's time, and I think that will happen at some point before the trade deadline. Another thing I think will happen before the trade deadline, to be honest, I don't even know if this is a bold prediction anymore. I talked about it in my last video, and that's that Giannis will be traded at some point this season. Like, yes, a lot of people believe this is likely going to be Giannis's last year with the Bucks just because there's such few pathways for them to truly be able to contend, given they're cap strapped, have zero draft capital to trade, and the current talent on the roster just is not good enough. But I actually think rather than this happening in the summer, it's going to happen before the deadline. The Bucks are going to have a mediocre start. Giannis is going to say, I've seen enough, and request a trade. And rather than waiting for the offseason, where the Bucks could probably get more offers, or better offers anyway, from teams with cap space who can make a trade for him without sending out equal salary in return, I think the Bucks are going to feel the pressure from Giannis and him wanting a chance at a title this year, and will move on from him with an offer that is going to be too good for them to pass up. What will that team be? I mentioned in my last video, I think the team that makes the most sense, that actually has the assets to make a legitimate offer where it makes sense for both sides, is the Houston Rockets. They have draft picks, young players. The other team also is the Spurs, young players, draft picks as well. I think that will be a little more challenging there in finding the amount of salary to send out to come close to Giannis's $54 million. And the other thing as well, the Spurs are eventually going to have to max out Wemby when he's extension eligible. They just extended Fox to a max deal. Do they think they can afford to have 3 max players on their roster in today's NBA with the apron rules? That's why I see the Rockets being more likely, but in any event, bold prediction, Giannis is traded mid-season. The next one probably doesn't need a ton of explanation, but might be the most bold one on here since we haven't seen this done since 1994, and we've only seen it happen 4 times in NBA history. And that's that I believe Victor Wembanyama will record a quadruple double this season. We've already seen him get the 5x5 game. That stat line is a little less rare than a quadruple double, as we've seen over a dozen of those throughout NBA history. But if there was ever a player poised to get a quadruple double, it's Wemby. He's shown he has the ability to get close in the double-digit range of blocks. He's had games where he's recorded double digits in assists, points and rebounds. That's a non-issue. We know that he can do that. The dude grew another 2 inches and is now listed at 7'5". He's going to get more blocks on the hole. He's going to have more passing opportunities with the improved talent around him this year. So yes, a bold prediction just because the stat line is incredibly rare, but I wouldn't be shocked if we see Wemby getting a quadruple double this season. And then finally, I saved this one for last because I know some people would just click on to the next video if I started out with it. Yes, a little biased on my part, but I could also easily see it happening if everything goes right for this team, and that's the Chicago Bulls finishing in the top 6 of the Eastern Conference, avoiding their 4th straight appearance in the play-in. The Eastern Conference is wide open. We all know that. If anything, we're probably getting tired of hearing about how wide open it is. But for the Bulls, if there is anything we know about this team, they're never going to tank. They're always going to come out and try to win every game. And because they're young, because their players, for the most part, are pretty durable and aren't considered injury prone, because we know their goal is to play fast, wear teams down, use their youth and athleticism to their advantage, I can see them messing around in a weak Eastern Conference and finishing 6th. I had them finishing 8th in my Eastern Conference predictions video, but I guess you could say that is my more realistic prediction, while 6 is my higher end ceiling for them. Don't get me wrong, a lot of things have to go right for this team. Josh Giddey has to continue on that streak we saw from him at the end of last year. Kobe White has to break out even further. Montes Buzelis has to have a most improved player of the year type season. Patrick Williams has to get back to being a serviceable NBA player. And then of course, 2 other teams in the East fall from grace or suffer their own injuries. A lot of things have to fall in place in order for the Bulls to finish top 6 in the East, but it's certainly not out of the realm of possibility when you're in the Eastern Conference, especially this season. So anyway, those are some of my bold predictions for this upcoming season. Let me know where you guys stand on some of these. Let me know in the comments. As always, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.